I'm just a guy who loves Disney that has way too much time on his hands. If anybody from Disney is watching, please don't sue me. I'm here to rate, review, and describe all of your favorite things from the magical world of Disney. I'm File91e and welcome to my Disney News and Reviews. Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Disney News and Reviews. I'm File91e. Pretty cool week for me this week, guys. Just interesting stuff going on. I just want to give a shout out to my ma. She is currently recuperating from a knee surgery, total knee replacement, so she's in pain, you know, so I'm sending some love her way. It's very cool. But she's doing great, so, you know, I'm happy about that. So yeah, I believe that's it. What's been going on with me this week, so let's get right to the news. You may remember that back in May of this year, a limited number of tests were carried out with the new RFID FastPass systems. It is anticipated that in the next series of tests, which are to be held in September, that the tests will be taken further, involving the new Wi-Fi service in the park and the new My Disney Experience smartphone app. You might also recall that in recent weeks Disney has been busy installing new RFID readers at entrances to many attractions as part of the new system. Are they connected? Well, when I know, you'll know. It's a pretty cool thing, you know, that Disney's trying to connect all this stuff with this one little RFID card. Interesting thing. So again, when I know, you'll know all the the current information. In more Wi-Fi news, there have been reports from guests in Typhoon Lagoon that the free Wi-Fi internet service is now running at the water park, so that's pretty cool. It seems that since introducing Wi-Fi first to the Magic Kingdom a couple weeks ago, Disney is now rolling the service out to the remaining parks and downtown Disney pretty quickly. It's very popular. A lot of people like it. A lot of people like the fact that they can still use Wi-Fi in the parks, and from what I hear, it's actually, you know, it works really well. A new Phineas and Ferb interactive activity is coming to downtown Disney next month. Very cool. Starting September 1st and only going till December 1st, so it's only for a couple months. Phineas and Ferb and You, A Brand New Reality is an augmented reality activity that allows you to interact with the characters Phineas, Ferb, Dr. Doof, or Agent P on a screen augmented with images of you. So that's pretty cool. Disney has said that the activity will be complimentary and will also enable you to share a complimentary digital photo of your experience. I guess you'll be able to Facebook it and stuff like that. Phineas and Ferb and You, A Brand New Reality will be located next to Bongos on the west side and will operate again only from September 1st to December 1st of this year, from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. daily. So if you're down between September 1st and September 1st and December 1st, you know, check that out, especially if you're big into Phineas and Ferb. In addition to a new layout, very nice by the way guys, WDW Magic has some more info on the Fantasyland expansion, including new pictures depicting a finished Fantasyland. It's an artist rendering. A full look at the menu for the new Be Our Guest restaurant, and much more. So be sure to check that out. Go to wdwmagic.com. They recently redid the whole site. Very cool. A bunch of news on the new Fantasyland stuff. The Magic Kingdom's massively popular The Magic, the Memories, and You is set to close on September 3rd to be reworked into an all-new show. Expected to debut before the holidays this year, the new show will continue to use the same projection technology that has made the current show so popular. The original The Magic, the Memories, and You has received multiple minor changes since its debuted back in early of 2011, with seasonal inserts keeping the show fresh. So they've always kind of tweaked it, but this is the first real big major renovation. This upcoming change will be far more extensive, including an all-new name for the show. So very cool stuff. So I'm glad to see that show take off, because it actually is really neat to see how they project this stuff onto the Magic Kingdom castle and all the pictures and everything. It's very neat stuff. And finally, Disney released its full lineup for this year's Night of Joy at the Magic Kingdom. Follow the link below to see the full schedule. It's in the description box. Excellent stuff. So, Night of Joy, very cool. So let's get right to the reviews. That's the news this week. Alright guys, this week I'm going back to reviewing some, actual rides, and I wanted to get these two rides out of the way. These are actually two attractions that I did not experience while I was down there last time, last October, because I simply didn't want to get on them. I've been on them before, and honestly, they got scrapped because I didn't have the time to get on pretty much everything. I got on 98% of everything, but these two I just didn't feel like dealing with, and so obviously, you can probably see by the title what they are. But yeah, anyway, so the first thing I want to review today is the Tomorrowland Speedway in Tomorrowland in the Magic Kingdom. Now, what these guys say the Tomorrowland Speedway is: drive 'em yourself miniature cars, major attraction. I don't know how that's possible. Go before 11 a.m. or after 5 p.m. Kids must be 54 inches tall to drive unassisted. Boring for adults, 2 stars, great for preschoolers. Yeah, so anyway, there's a lot about the Tomorrowland Speedway that doesn't involve Disney World. I mean, this was one of the original attractions in Disneyland. It's called Autopia over there, and there's actually a version of the Autopia in every single Disney park around the world. So there's one in Disneyland Paris and Hong Kong Disney. Actually, Hong Kong Disneyland was the first Disneyland to not have an Autopia attraction open with its grand opening. So, but there is one now. However, when they decided to make Walt Disney World, they obviously were going to bring this over here and make Disneyland East. So they needed to bring this over here, and because they're on the East Coast and they're right next to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, they decided, okay, well, it's a racing, it's kind of a racing hub in this area, so let's try to get some stuff going. Now, originally, Goodyear sponsored this. This was, it was called the Grand Prix Raceway, not the Tomorrowland Speedway, and it focused was the first of these Autopia attractions to actually focus more on modern cars than future cars. Because Tomorrowland's all about the future. This kind of just is weird because it focuses more on modern cars, obviously, than future cars, because it's sponsored by Goodyear. Goodyear wanted more modern cars because they gave Disney the tires and everything like that. So it's the oddball of Tomorrowland, because why is that future? That's there's no future in that. Now, it's funny that in Disneyland, in the early test phases of this, Disney obviously wanted interactivity a lot, and this was one of the first attractions that really had interactivity where kids could really get hands on stuff, and you can let the people drive. But when they were testing the cars, they realized that they needed a guideline and bumpers. There weren't bumpers actually in the original ones. It was just go-karts, and you would go around the track. And I guess they realized once kids got got behind the wheel, it's hard for them to steer, and they just started careening off the road, hence the guideline in the middle, and they just bumped into everything, so they needed good bumper system. So obviously the results were pretty bad when they didn't have the guideline or the bumper, so I just thought that was pretty funny. So I figured they'd be no-brainers, but apparently somebody had to crash a car in order to understand that bumpers are necessary. Now, the history of this particular attraction in this isn't really too rich. I mean, there really isn't a whole lot of stuff. It is based on the Autopia attraction from Disneyland, like I said. But when they upgraded the Tomorrowland, we with that giant expansion and everything, like whenever that was, they changed its name and the theming to make it more of a less, they didn't have the whole Grand Prix in there. They wanted it, to be the Tomorrowland Speedway. And then in 1999, Disney partnered with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to create the Tomorrowland Indy Speedway. They threw the little Indy in there, and there were actual items added to the Speedway to make it reflect more on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Those items pretty much include, there's the famous yard of bricks, which can be seen at the starting line. It's that 3-foot section of bricks that's supposed to signify the starting gate, and that is in reference to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You got the scoring pylon, gasoline alley, and the wheel and wing logo. That's all there. There's the loading area, which featured panels with the 3 Indy events. You got the Indianapolis 500, the Brickyard 400, and the United States Grand Prix. All of that, was in reference to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Now, in 2008, after a long partnership, they pretty much just kind of nixed it, and then it went back to the Tomorrowland Speedway. That's pretty much what it's called right now, and that's it. Now, the actual ride itself is, if you really need to know, basically, you wait in a really long line. There's kids everywhere, and there's an opportunity to get into 2 sides of the actual street, so you can go. You can be in the right lane or the left lane, and you hop in these go-kart type cars, and there's some there's single riders, and then there's double riders, obviously for kids who need to be accompanied by an adult. And you just go along a guided track, and you are just going around a little, kind of, countryside. You're not going very fast. The cars really don't, do too well. I mean, it's really bumpy. They're really low to the ground. I mean, for kids it's great because they get a chance to go and drive a car, and you get to imitate what their parents are doing. However, for the adults that are there with the kids, they're sitting there, kind of just clanging around to one side because the kid can't control the car, and all of a sudden it's going to bump into the person in front of him. You're going to get dirty looks from the guy ahead of you, because he's why can't you control your kid? Well, I don't know what to do. I'm just here, and he's driving, and this is what happens. Why can't you move? It's like, wah, 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 wah. I'm not saying that happened, but I saw it. I mean, parents really just don't really like this ride. It's not, a very big thing. It's not like, go-karts where you can go careening off and just go fast and everything. It's a really slow-moving ride. Although, again, kids love it because they get to control a car. If it wasn't for the guideline, the guide rail in the middle of each of the lanes, keeping the cars at least in somewhat of a good area, there'd be accidents all the time. So it's very nice that they did that there, and they did install bumpers, and it's okay. I really don't know what else to say about it. I mean, there really is no good form of stopping. It is just you bounce into the last guy. You can't really stop too well. When I went on it as a kid, I loved it, but when I went on it a couple years ago, I really realized that it's not too fun anymore. As you grow up, you just kind of grow out of this sort of thing. So there it is. That is the Tomorrowland Indy Speedway. So what am I going to give the Tomorrowland Speedway? I'm going to give it 2. It's kind of a lame attraction. It doesn't really fit into the whole Tomorrowland theming. It's just there. I guess it's there for posterity's sake. It's the transition literally from Tomorrowland to Fantasyland, and it's like it's put right there in the middle, and they're like, yeah, it's kind of futuristic, but it really isn't. So I heard that the Autopia in Disneyland is actually on the verge of being scrapped, because they're going to update Tomorrowland there, and so I'm pretty sure if they were to update Tomorrowland in the Magic Kingdom, that this would be scrapped also. It's a very dated attraction. You can tell it's very old. Again, for posterity's sake, it is pretty cool. For kids, it's fun, but for adults, it's really not. So that's why I'm giving it 2 stars. I'm sorry if you like it, and if you had great memories with your parents or whatever on this ride. I'm sorry, but for my personal opinion, it's really not worth seeing unless you have a kid who wants to get on, in which case, suck it up, be a parent, and enjoy this. This is what you're going to be doing the entire time until you flip out and take control of the wheel and then deal with a crying kid the entire time. Right there. Right there. There you go. The Tomorrowland Speedway. 2 stars. Alright guys, the next attraction that I want to review today, again, is not one of my all-time favorites. It used to be, but it's kind of slowly gone the way of the dodo, and I don't see this attraction staying open for very long. But again, it could turn into something great with a little ingenuity and a little help from File91e's. But anyway, it's the Studio Backlot Tour. I'm very heartbroken that this attraction has gone the way it has. This used to be a really great attraction. I remember vivid memories of it when I went down when I was 4. I used to love this because you know, even then I was into big, you know, I was into memorabilia and learning how stuff was done, and this was one of my favorite attractions when I you know, went down the last time, and I always look forward to going on it. But this past time I went down, and just at this, you know, just looking at the state of it, it was pretty terrible. But anyway, what these guys say the Studio Backlot Tour is, it's a combination tram and walking tour of modern film and video production. That's a really, not really. As a headliner, go anytime, use the restroom before getting in line. Yeah, you wait a long time. Educational and fun, not to be missed, 4 stars. They really gave this attraction more than it's really worth. A little bit more than it's really worth, I would say. This opened with the MGM Studios when it opened in 1989, and it's in the Streets of America section of Disney's Hollywood Studios. It's in the Streets of America section. Now, this was an actual tour, you know, of an actual backlot when MGM Studios wasn't a working studio. And I'm not sure if you actually knew this, but back when MGM opened, or Disney's Hollywood Studios opened, it really did, you know, it made TV shows and stuff like that. It was kind of following in the footsteps of the Universal Backlot Tour, and because every studio had a backlot tour where you would, you know, people would pay money to go and enjoy to see how movies were made. You know, I mean, you go to the Paramount lot and see all these different cool things, and the Universal lot, which was awesome. So obviously Disney had to follow suit and do this stuff, and this was a pretty big thing. So the Studio Backlot Tour originally was really cool. Now, to give you some history on this, I know a lot of you might not like this, but I personally love the old Backlot Tour. The actual entrance to where the Backlot Tour is where the Magic of Disney Animation is currently. Like when you go into the Magic of Disney Animation, you'll past this like giant queue. You'll be like, what is this queue? That was actually where the Backlot Tour was, and that was where you would wait, and it was a whole big thing. It literally, you know, it literally took you all the way through where Pixar is now, and where the Backlot Tour was, and where the Streets of America was. That was all part of the Backlot Tour. It was a huge, long thing. Like, that took up pretty much almost an hour of your day, hour to 2, maybe even more of your day. Now, what you would do is you would get in line, and you would actually start with this tram tour. It was really cool. You would go around and see all these different things, all this, you know, all the working sets. And there was also a walking section, and it was so long that they actually had to give you a break. Where the Studio Backlot Express is, you know, with the studio catering company, that was actually a break. You could go up, get some food, and you know, eat lunch, and then continue on that tour. That's how long the tour was. I mean, it was, you know, that was the biggest thing in MGM Studios at that time. I mean, you really saw a lot, and it was just, you know, it was cool. I remember when I was there, I remember we saw Herbie the Love Bug, and just seeing all these different stuff from the movies and everything. It was just neat. And where the exit was, they used to be, you remember Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Well, there was going to be a big place where Who Framed Roger Rabbit rides would be, and they built actually, you know, a replica of the whole Acme set. That's why Acme is so prevalent around that Studio Backlot area, because that's reference to a Who Framed Roger Rabbit attraction that was never there. But it was big at the time when I was a kid, so it was really nice, you know, to see that when I was a kid, because I still am a huge Who Framed Roger Rabbit fan. So, but yeah, the Backlot Tour was huge. It was big. It was a big grand thing, and it was so much fun because they actually had people that, you know, enjoyed themselves there. Today it's a little bit different. Today you actually go in. You know, they moved the entranceway totally across to the other side of the park. It's right next to the Lights, Motors, Action Extreme Stunt Show, and the Lights, Motors, Action Extreme Stunt Show took up a large part of the of that studio area, because over the years, pretty much the Backlot Tour was so popular that they just opened the Backlot area to wandering guests, and eventually the studio just kind of said, okay, we can't have that, and they ceased to become or to be a actual production studio, and it just became a theme park, and all the movie stuff was kind of taken out, and, you know, you missed all that really cool stuff that where you could see people actually making movies. But I digress. Anyway, like I said, the current one is the current Backlot tour moved all the way to the other side, and you would go in, and there'd be this loading area where you would go into 4 different lines, and on the walls there'd be different things from different like props from different movies, and then there's a movie playing with Michael Bay talking about how he made Pearl Harbor. I hate Michael Bay. Just saying. I just despise Michael Bay as a director. He's very unoriginal. I love Bad Boys though, because Bad Boys started his whole career, and yeah, he hasn't changed. His movies haven't changed since. But anyway, you then, after the long wait, you go into this, I guess you could say, they call it right now, this is the walking portion of your Backlot tour experience. Basically, if the weather's right, because the last time we were down there, it was so cold for people that they couldn't perform these stunts. Basically, there's a couple boats and stuff there, and they show you how water stunts are done. Kind of, it's a stationary boat, but they're like, here's how bullet hits are done. There's air stuff, and it sprays up water. And now here's how a wave is done. And they douse this volunteer from the tram before. They douse this volunteer with 11,000 gallons of water, and they just show you how waves are done, and how they make all this stuff into the movies. And they try to tie it in with Pearl Harbor, even though this section of the Backlot tour was done way before Pearl Harbor even existed. You know what I mean? Like this was part of the Backlot tour back in 1992 or whatever, and they're trying to tie this in now with Pearl Harbor. I'm like, that's not right. Yeah, it's not right. However, for kids it's kind of fun because you can see the stuff blowing up and different things like that. But it's really, really dated. I mean, they really need to put some some paint on there or something. It's really sun dried. It honestly looks like it hasn't been taken care of forever. It's so that this is the only section of the park that's really dirty. I'm like, ugh, it's just terrible. It doesn't get any love whatsoever. So anyway, to continue your walking section of this tour, you go into this now, which is my favorite part. This museum. It's not a museum. They call it a warehouse where they store all these different props. A lot of the stuff is really stacked up high, so you really can't see a lot of it. And it's really fun. I mean, you can see all these different props from different movies. I mean, the Rocketeer jetpack was there. I mean, you got the Mighty Duck stuff. Just all this really different cool stuff that I totally enjoyed. And, it brought back memories from me. And these are the actual props that they use. So that's cool. I got to give it to, Disney with that. They didn't, use replica props. Now, after you go through that warehouse filled with the props, and I'll get back to that in a minute, you hop on the tram. This is the tram portion. And now originally the tram portion was a lot longer. You would go through a lot more of the park and you'd see a lot more different things. Now it's just kind of a tram tour through the larger props. That's that's pretty much it. You got the bone cage from Pirates of the Caribbean, a lot of the Flight of the Navigator stuff. That's cool. Submarines and all this different things. And but the coolest prop, I guess you could say, is the fact that you actually get to see Walt Disney's jet. This is the actual jet that Walt Disney used. It's the Mickey Mouse one. It's the actual jet that Walt Disney used to fly over Florida while he was scouting for Walt Disney World. He was scouting for locations for Walt Disney World in that exact plane, and I thought that was really cool. It's my favorite part. Now, the big section of this attraction that it gets a lot of the press because it's the exciting portion. You go into this, this Backlot area. It's supposed to be like a live set, and then there's people going, hey, well, this one, what's going on? And originally it was supposed to be like you actually kind of stumbled onto a live set, and they caused all this calamity to happen, and it was supposed to feel real. But I guess people got too scared, and I guess people caught on after a while. But it's the Catastrophe Canyon set. You go on. And you hear the directors say action, and all of a sudden all this water comes down, fire goes careening out of control. This 18-wheeler slides down, the thing's rocking and rolling, the tram's moving up and down. You will get wet if you're on the left side. Just letting you know, I got a little wet the last time I was there. It was really fun. And then you go around and the person narrating, if you're lucky. Nowadays there isn't a person narrating, and I'll get back to that. But you go around and they tell you and they show you how all those effects were done pretty quickly, and then that's pretty much the end of your tour. You see some more stuff, and that's pretty much the end of your tour. Now, originally it was hosted by a person, and it was an actual person telling you all these stuff, telling you all the information. But you can really tell that they do this a lot every day because they're kind of bored with it. But nowadays, Disney did cut it, and now it's a recording, which is just getting even worse, I think, just because it's a recording of the same thing, and it's useless. Again, it's fallen so far from grace, it's not even funny. Although people still love it because this used to be a big portion of MGM or Hollywood Studios, but it's not anymore. It really isn't. It's such a minor portion of this attraction because there's nothing to see. There's no real studio thing. So honestly, and by the way, that's the whole attraction. By the way, and honestly, what I think they should do with it is scrap all that stuff and just make a giant building. It's like a giant museum filled with all the Disney movie props. I think because people like museum stuff. They go to the Smithsonian. They like the pop culture portion of it, where you can see Darth Vader's costume and different things like that. Disney should really do that. I mean, the Backlot tour is fun, but the tram portion, aside from the Catastrophe Canyon thing, I mean, there really is no excitement with it. And you really don't learn a whole lot. It's not like you're learning things and how they make movies and stuff like that. You don't learn too much. While it does have its roots, and it's if you were to uproot the Studio Backlot tour, then you'd really make Disney's Hollywood Studios into a theme park and not more of a studio park. But honestly, that has kind of already gone, and I still think that they deserve, or Hollywood Studios deserves a better type of ride right there. It's just fading away, and it's really, really sad to watch because this used to be one of my favorite attractions. But it's kind of fading away slowly, and there's so many cool different props and and different things that you could just put on display and have people walk through, at their leisure or whatnot. And it's really minimal cost. Just make sure you clean it and make sure, and it's nice. Or have there be like some sort of interactive thing where if they want to know more about the prop, you can hit a button or something. But the Backlot tour itself, they obviously Disney doesn't really care too much about it. It's just they're just maintaining it because certain people really, I guess, really like it, or they don't want to take it out because that would, I guess, kind of spit in the face of some of the Disney history buffs, but I'm not sure. But one other thing, as you exit this thing, there's usually like a museum sort of area where I think it was I think the last time I was down there was like the AFI's top 100 villains thing. Basically, it showed you like the costumes and different props from the different villains as voted on by the American Film Institute. I thought that was really cool. Again, I love to see the props there because that's all that you're doing with this tram ride anyway. So I don't need a tram to go walk through to see really cool props. I'd rather just have a museum like that where I can walk, at my leisure. But here's some, bits of trivia for all you Disney buffs out there. Photos of the now gone residential street. There used to be a whole bunch of different streets in the Studio Backlot tour. That was a part of the old Backlot tour. Can now be seen from a very noble place, the men's bathroom. Yeah. So if you want to see what residential street used to look like, make sure you hop in that men's bathroom right by the Studio Catering Company. Excellent stuff. Yeah, that was just a little joke. Okay, don't sue me, all you Studio Backlot tour fans. I am a fan of the old one. Don't think I'm not. So what am I going to give the Studio Backlot tour? Honestly, I'll give it a 3. It's a coin flip if you want to go or not. It's a staple for what Disney's Hollywood Studios is. Although I don't recommend you really have to get on it. It's one of my iffies, kind of. There are so many other things to do in Hollywood Studios that the Backlot tour can really go. If you've never been to Disney's Hollywood Studios, yes, get on the Backlot tour. I would recommend that. If you've never been, make sure that's part of it. But if you've been there before, you've seen it once, it hasn't changed. It never will change. If it does change, it usually will be for the worse. So hopefully, one day a higher up Disney guy will be like, this Backlot tour is terrible, and either upgrade it or put it out of its misery. It's a shame because it was a huge thing, but again, because Disney ceased actual film production in MGM Studios or Hollywood Studios, the Backlot tour really had no purpose anymore because you're not really touring a backlot, you're seeing props. It's a shame. So there you go. Anyway, the Studio Backlot tour at Disney's Hollywood Studios, 3 stars. Check it out if you want to. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Yeah, so if anyone from Disney is watching, please don't sue me. I know I tore these rides a new one, but it just had to be done. It had to. They're just not that good, in my opinion. In my opinion. And other people's opinions, that's up to them. But yeah, if you are going to Disney World, go to allears.net, touringplans.com, www.matches.com for our latest and greatest Disney news. They just redid their site. It's awesome stuff. WaltDisneyWorld.com is good too. Straight from the horse's mouth stuff. If you haven't checked it out, be sure to check out my D23 video. That's up now. And I'll see you guys next week for another Disney news and reviews. Bye, guys.